Danny! What's good, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, you already know,
Good to see you, bro.
I'm here. Likewise, man. Jeez.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the sit down. This is now episode 12. And I'm here with my dog, my good man. He's always been a supporter of the channel since day one. If y'all see him in the comments, his name is Danny or Danelle. We go by Danny though. And as you can see, this is gonna be kind of a nerd sesh today. We're gonna
Absolutely.
We're gonna talk about something that we talk about at work pretty much 90% of the time we're there. And we're just gonna kind of talk about video games and talk about where we kind of started with it, what our systems were. We'll talk about a top 10 later on, probably in another video.
Yep.
We'll talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. But Danny, let's get it popping, bro. Let's get it popping.
First of all, man, I know you've been tackling important issues like politics, business. But I'm here to tell you, the most important issue in the world right now, video games. We're about to talk about the real issues. But nah, all kidding aside, man. It all starts depending on what your age is. That's kind of dictates a lot of your experiences in life and in entertainment mediums. In my case, I just turned 30 on September 21st. I was born in 1990. You just turned 26, right? Birthday was like 5 days ago.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. So, depending on where you were born, depends on what console and what that dictates, right? So, first system that I basically started playing was Super Nintendo. Yeah, man, that's like if you're a 90s baby.
That was it right there.
It's because the systems from the past, you had your NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. They basically from evolution, this whole video game industry, what's stopping them is technology. You could say that about a lot of things, movies, etc., especially in the beginning, the origin. But at a certain point, you plateau. Movies, kind of maybe. The CG's getting better, things like that. But for the most part, you could see the advancements kind of plateauing right now. Video games, since it's an early industry, movies been around, I don't know, 100 years.
Right.
Books, right?
Forever.
So then this entertainment medium is pretty new, and the advancements that have gone through because of technology, bigger hard drive, etc., computers. Right. It all started with the computer.
Graphics cards,
the original,
all that, yep.
quote-unquote video game system. And then gradually it goes from graphics, 8-bit, 16-bit, etc., 3D.
Yep.
And then now we're at a point where the PS5 is about to come out literally November 12th.
Yep.
Less than a month away, and the Xbox Series S. All these new systems, a new generation of consoles will come out. And we'll talk about that later, but basically we're at a good point right now where you have these high-end systems, but then we also, it's just like every other medium, we have great movies to look back on.
Right.
There's The Godfather, that, I don't know, super old movie, still holds up.
Yeah, always will.
Right. Music, you have a bunch of these classic master songs, albums, whatever, you could always look back on. But right now, we're still basically, we have the good, we have the Marios of the world, and then we're getting our new video games that they're always like pushing the limits, pushing the edges. You have your indie games, which kind of a little more like throwback, like
right.
back to the days of the past. So we're in a good spot right now in 2020 with everything else besides everything else happening in the world, as far as video games are concerned, right? So kind of tell me how do you get started? I know you told me that your big brother was a big influence in getting you into.
Yep. So with a lot of things in life, shoes, music.
Gotcha.
Same thing kind of went along with video games too, right? So for me, I was born in '94. So I grew up with systems that I didn't even realize how old they were, right?
Right.
I saw an NES, in my living room at one point. I saw a Super NES, right?
Right.
I saw a Sega Genesis. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, we kind of branched out to PlayStation 1.
Yep.
PlayStation 1, I think, came out in the early 2000s.
Gotcha.
And then after that, PlayStation 2, right? And then I remember, you remember that game Time Crisis?
Yeah, of course.
With the guns.
Yeah,
that was like
of course.
revolutionary for its
Yeah,
time.
it was really good.
So much fun.
It didn't pop up as setting wise, but critically it was really.
And you can see it all over. Like you go to like video game stores or like video game like the Silver Pinball Museum right down in Delray. Right. They have a video game very similar to Time Crisis in there, right? So, and then obviously like with most people, you know, then you branch off PS3, PS4, and now for me, now I'm on PC now.
The elite.
We'll see. We'll see.
Elite gamer.
What about you, Danny? Where did you kind of start?
So Super Nintendo, basically, I kind of you know, messed around here and there with like Mario, but really my first game. So I came from Cuba when I was 3 years old. Then, you know, I guess for whatever reason, my parents, you know, they were like, look, I didn't have anything over there. We're gonna get you the Super Nintendo over here. You know what I'm saying?
Make up the difference.
Done deal. From then on, I haven't really looked back. You know. So Donkey Kong Country, man, that's like
that's a classic.
It's a classic for its time, and you know, even today for a 2D platformer, it looks pretty good, man.
And a lot of games probably took a lot of innovation from that game.
For sure.
But that's what's so nifty when it comes to video games.
Right.
You can see the correlation between a game 15 years later, between a game 15 years in the past, right? There's inspiration, there's stuff taken from those old games that are even
100%.
used today. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy.
Yep. They laid a foundation. So, you know, Mario's basically like, you know, your mom knows who Mario is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
who doesn't?
Yeah.
Seriously, who doesn't?
Exactly. It's like iconic. So the thing about me is I didn't really get super into the Mario games, and they're considered like 10 out of 10s, like, you know, games. But it's kind of, I had like the inferior little brother, you know what I'm saying? Like that, yeah, he's not as good as Mario, but he's still really good. Maybe not a 10 out of 10, but he's like a 9 out of 10, right? With Donkey Kong Country, I played 1, 2, 3, but that's basically like the first one. Then after that, our boy AP. Okay. He's like he's like you know, big cousin, big brother, whatever you want you know go by. But basically, he had Sega Genesis.
Oh.
So it's funny how when you don't have something, you want that even more. It's just human nature. It is what it is. So I had a Super Nintendo, bunch of great games. I go over his house, play Sonic once, and I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I need that. I need that. And it's even better when it's every once in a blue moon. Eventually, got the Sega Genesis, and you know, back then, like, it's not our money; it's our parents' money.
Right.
We kind of have to pick and choose what games or what systems we want to get. I wasn't a type of person where I, you know, take advantage of my parents. I gotta be like, oh, look, man, you know, I don't want to like take your money and like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want that. I'm like, I have a Super Nintendo. Okay, you know, I need to earn the next system more.
Sure.
Okay, so then basically I'll get, hey, when use my credit card, my report card, you know, second grade or whatever. Okay, you know, here's, you know,
here's the reward.
The next, here's the reward. So, so then I got the Sega Genesis, and then one of my favorite games of all time is Sonic and Knuckles. That was a little revolutionary. I'm pretty sure it's done in the past, but basically, it was Sonic 3. So Sonic 1, I played, I think 2 and 3. I never played Sonic 1 actually. And he's actually my favorite video game character of all time. Therefore, the blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So basically, Sonic 3, it was like a cartridge. You put it on top of the Sega Genesis, and then they basically did an expansion where you couldn't play as Knuckles. Knuckles was like the bad guy of Sonic 3, but they basically made an expansion. So you get a second cartridge, and you just
plug it on top
of the freaking thing. Yep. It was wild. And the first time that I actually played Sonic 3, I borrowed it from like one of my friends from school, and then eventually I either stayed with it because he was cool about it, or I rented it, or I bought it. I don't even know. But all I know is like Sonic and Knuckles, which is the cartridge on top, is like one of my favorite games of all time. Just because I was like so, you know, wowed by the game. Like
that's crazy.
Again, back in the day, and then like that's kind of like an iconic part of like me growing up playing video games. It's not. And then the other aspect was every week we had by where we lived, we had like a Hollywood video.
Oh,
Bro,
man.
Shout outs to Hollywood Video, bro.
Hey, for me, Blockbuster. Shouts to Blockbuster back in the day.
Yeah, so
man.
Hollywood Video was only rival. It's like, you know, Lyft to Uber, you know. But basically, yeah, it's the same thing as Blockbuster. You would go, and every week I'd rent like one video game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I would go on the weekend or whatever. Dad do me a favor, blah blah blah, and then I'll go back and that dude. You know, if you know how like nowadays you have like, okay, on your Steam library, like these are the games you played. I don't even know, like, dude, there was like a Home Alone game I rented.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what I was renting, bro. But I'm just like, I'll just rent one game, boom, 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 and then it was like off to the races from there. Listen, bro, be careful what you get your kids into. You know, that's how you build habits, right?
Right.
So it is what it is. Like, basically, I built a consistent habit, and just rented and tried different games. Some were good, some were bad. The good thing about renting it, hey, you didn't like it, put it back. You like it, you keep renting.
Yep.
It is what it is. After the Genesis, then I went to, since I was a fan of Sonic, Dreamcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
we're
I lied.
old, bro.
I
We're
lied.
old.
Yeah, we are. Well, Nintendo 64, and then eventually Dreamcast.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then never forget, me and AP, one time, I think it was my birthday, we played like 400 rounds of like Mario Kart, like
What?
arena or something. It's ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. I don't even know why we still do that. We still talk about that to this day. We just start cracking up like.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
But anywho, so yeah, it was N64, Dreamcast.
Hmm?
Eventually, I got the PlayStation.
PlayStation.
I think I eventually got the PS2, and then eventually Xbox. Me like talking about like I didn't force my parents to get the video games, bro. Apparently, I have all the video games consoles. So much for that. And then I went into PS3. I think from the PlayStation 4, I never got the Xbox, and like I've just kind of derived more into the PlayStation.
So what's funny is that my brother, after the PS2, actually went to an Xbox 360.
Gotcha. And a lot of people did.
A lot of people did because you want to know why?
I know why.
Why?
Well, Xbox was I think 500. PS3 was $600.
So I think 6 or 7.
It was 6. It was 6.
And on top of it, Xbox 360 was the first gaming console to ever provide like a friend zone where you could actually have an in-game chat. They beat PS3
Yeah, that's right.
to
They
it.
had the mics.
They beat PS3 to it. Yeah.
Another factor, they came out first. I'm pretty sure Xbox
Exactly,
360, the Xbox came out first.
Mhm.
The
And then
360, yeah.
and what's funny now is now you see the PlayStation,
Right.
they come out before Xbox every time because they learn
Right.
from getting their butts whooped.
Right, at
on
the
an
same,
Xbox
at the same
360.
before or at the same time. Exactly.
Yep,
They have to come out at the same
exactly
time,
right, yep.
and the prices. Like they literally
Much
just
more
announced.
competitive.
So Sony was waiting basically for Microsoft to announce how much the Xbox was cost because they weren't gonna put there wasn't gonna be any pressure. You know, the PlayStation wasn't gonna be pressure because they knew like they're even if. So basically, you're selling the console at a loss, I believe. Either break it even or at a loss,
Right.
because they're gonna make their money on the back end with the video games.
Exactly right. Yep.
But yeah, so like it kind of went through like, you know, the thing about like, hey, are you this PlayStation? Are you this side or this side?
I never understood that.
Well, I get it, cause basically it's Sony PlayStation had Xbox has Halo. PlayStation
Sure.
has this game. If you could, back in the day when we weren't working as much as we we didn't have our own money, there was only room for one.
Halo and Gears. That was
Right.
Xbox's bread and butter. Halo,
Right,
and Gears.
and it still is.
Yep.
Which is, partially why they're not doing that great nowadays, but they're making it up in other areas with that past that they have. But basically that was it. So I leaned more towards PlayStation, but I did have Xbox, and there were certain games that appealed to me in Xbox. But yeah, and then right now PS4, and then I'm gonna get the PS5. I'm not gonna sit, refresh. If I have the chance, I might do it a couple times here and there because they're all sold out.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So now that we got our kind of history with everything, what's your favorite genres? and kind of like give me your favorite games here and there.
Okay.
Not a top 10 or anything, just
Sure.
cross over them.
So my kind of genre, like we were talking about off camera, Danny. My kind of genre is a genre that's like a RPG or an MMORPG. It's something like I need something to work towards.
Yep.
And like a game, like I have GTA up here, but like I played this game like 5 hours ever. Because the game bored me. Because like it was so open and so free that you had to have that kind of creativity to make your story as you went. Like for me, I like games like Destiny, games like Dying Light, or games like Doom, right? Or the World of Warcraft, or Diablo, right?
It has to have some type of leveling in it. If it doesn't have any leveling in it, then what's the point?
That's exactly it.
What are you playing towards, And that's the thing, man. That's why I want to encourage you to try out different games because you're missing out and I'm missing out. But then again, we only have so much time
That's
in
true.
the day.
Yep.
And again, this is entertainment medium. This goes on the bottom of your priority list.
Of course.
You gotta take care of everything else before you can get to this.
And that's the thing, by the way, y'all don't prioritize video games over real life stuff.
Yeah, right.
Come on, people.
Right.
Come on now.
Right. That's tricky. We'll play it. We'll talk about that ahead if we have the time. But that's tricky. But to get back to what we were talking about. I think the genre you like is games as a service. Destiny is basically games as a service is a genre of games where content is constantly being updated and given out. So, for example, I buy a single player story mode game. That game's X amount of hours, let's say on average 15, 20 hours long. Once I beat it, I'm pretty much done with it. You can just put it back in the closet or wherever you don't touch it pretty much again. Maybe you want to beat it like very hard or another difficulty, but you're basically playing the game again. Whereas these games of services, it's infinite. Like as long as the company keeps making content, as long as there's players, and it gives the company incentive to keep making content. So you're going for level 50, I reached the cap, get the best gear, guess what? There's an expansion coming out in a year. New expansion comes out, okay, whatever I have now is obsolete. I need to get the better gear.
Yeah.
That is infinite. The issue with those games, it stops you from playing The Last of Us. It stops you from playing these AAA games that, we're going to look back on, and I bet just like we look at exaggeration, but okay, I would say The Godfather.
Sure.
Last of Us, Last of Us 2 is like the Godfather of video games, right? So when I say that,
whoa, that's big, bro.
Yeah, but a video game. So the thing, I've always had this thing about video games, and people are like, oh man, this story's amazing, this story's good. I play the game, and I'm like, it wasn't that good.
High standards.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
High
exactly. I'm like,
standards.
where you compare it to like a movie, like a Christopher Nolan movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
It's
man.
all what you compare it to.
Yeah, because that's. But basically, that's what I thought. And then, Metal Gear Solid came in the mix, man, and that kind of
legendary.
Changed the genre from this is what kids only play this. Video games are only for kids. And it's one of the first video games where like, this could be for adults too. Because the story was so deep. There was plot twists. I never forget. Anytime I played one of those games, you beat the game, whatever. See the story, great story. Very applicable to the real life. So
Right.
Hideo Kojima, he's the one, like the main dude that basically made those games. So he knows a lot about history, stuff like that. Like his second game was all about, and it's very timely. Like you go back in those games and it still applies to today. Second game was all about false advertising, and I didn't know that like when I was playing the game before,
Right.
but I know now that like, I look back at it now and you go on YouTube videos and stuff like that, and then basically what leading up to the release of the game, he made it false advertising. So in the game you basically play as a Solid Snake, from Super Smash Brothers.
Yep.
So the whole like advertising of the game Solid Snake. The first game you played as Solid Snake throughout the whole game. The second game you play the demo, and that's the whole thing about these games. You play the demos, and it was a really big deal. You play that demo over and over and over.
Remember they
and
used to
over
send
again.
it to you in the mail,
Mm-hmm.
and like those little sleeves.
Yup.
Oh
Yup.
my god, I forgot about that.
Metal Gear, bro.
Whoa.
Tony Hawk demo's legendary.
Oh, see, now that goes down as one of it. That's an indie classic.
Yeah. So
Pro Skater 1 and Pro Skater 2.
Yep. Yeah.
Crazy.
So Metal Gear really pushed the limits as far as storytelling, and then here and there you have your good games with storytelling, at least in my opinion. But now, again, we've basically caught up. Like, now it's legit, okay, this story's really good.
Right.
Like, not even like, okay, we're grading on a curve. Nah, like this, like anybody that plays this game can't objectively tell me in the face, like, you know, it was, no, this is like the standards of like movies. And you could argue, depending on your taste, like better or worse.
Sure.
Because it's a, you know, playable medium, but yeah, it's really evolved throughout the years. But then again, there's a saying that says gameplay is king. Gameplay is king. And that's where we go back to the games of service.